One of the first ever videos that I created was a tutorial about how to use Signable. Now, if you've been here for any length of time at all, you will know that I highly recommend that therapists in private practice use Google Workspace. But if you don't want to use Google Workspace, or you still want to use an e-signature platform to send out your private practice paperwork, I highly recommend using Signable. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Kim. I help therapists in private practice with their business systems and processes, getting them confident with admin and reducing tech overwhelm. So before I jump into my computer and show you how to use Signable, I just want to explain why I think Signable is perfect for therapists in private practice. Firstly, they are the only e-signature platform that I know of that have a pay-as-you-go system. So basically, you upload some money onto the system and then you only pay when you use it. Now, many of the others will have an $8, $10, or even $12 a month subscription that you have to pay, regardless of how many times you use the platform. So for most therapists in private practice, they're only onboarding 1 or 2 clients a month maximum. So if you're paying £8 or £10 a month, that's costing you between £4 and £5 every time you onboard a client. Whereas with Signable, you upload credits and it works out to around £1.50 per envelope every time you onboard a client. The other thing I love is that even with the pay-as-you-go option, you get all of the features of the platform. And again, with other e-signature platforms, there are levels and you need to pay a certain amount to be able to access features like sending automated reminders, adding multiple people to one envelope, adding personalized messages and things like that. But with Signable, you get access to everything regardless of what tier you are on. Now, obviously, if you do a monthly payment plan, the envelopes that you send do work out cheaper, but it really does depend on how many you are sending. And for therapists in private practice, like I said, you're not using it enough to warrant that monthly fee. So for other e-signature platforms, I feel like you're going to be wasting a lot of money. Signable is also really simple to use, I believe, and you'll be able to see that for yourself when we jump into my computer and I give you a behind the scenes look of how you set it up. And it's also really easy for the end user, so your clients, to be able to complete online as well. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into my computer and I will show you the behind the scenes of Signable, because they've recently made some pretty big updates, and so I'd really like to show you what those are. So the first thing you want to do is get your template from wherever you've got it. So I've got a Google Doc on my Google Drive, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this as a PDF. Now, you don't have to do this, but I have found with Signable that sometimes if you upload like a Word document, it can change the formatting. Whereas when you do a PDF, it's going to be in the exact format you set it. So just go to File, Download, and PDF, and that's going to download it. So now when we are in Signable, and this is what the new Signable looks like. So your templates might be blank, or maybe you've got a dummy template that Signable has already given you. So I'm going to show you how to create a template and also how you would send it to a client. So you want to head to templates and you want to go to new template, and then you're going to upload your document. I'm just going to make myself a bit smaller here. So as you scroll down the page, it stops on page 1, but you can get to different pages by clicking over here. So you just click on the page that you want. So the first thing you want to decide is how many signers this template needs. So we need 2 signers because I've got the client that needs to fill in information, but I also then have the therapist signature down the bottom here. So I'm going to rename this signer and I'm going to put client, and click update party, and I'm going to add on a party and type in therapist, or you could put your own name because you are the therapist. So now we have therapist and client. So when you come to creating your template, you will need to use these buttons over here. So you can have a text box, a signature box, a date box. You can also have check boxes. I haven't used the drop down, but you can use drop down as well. And you can also upload things to the template. The ones that I mainly use are the text, signature, date, and checkbox. So the signer that is highlighted in blue, that is the person that will have to complete that information. So for example, if I want to put a text box here, I'm going to highlight text and then I'm going to put it here. But as you can see, it's saying that it is the therapist that would complete this information, so that is incorrect. So I'm going to click on here and then just click delete, and then I'm going to change it to the client because it's the client that I want to complete this form. So we need some text boxes here, so a text box for full name, for address, for telephone number, email, medical conditions, presenting issues, the emergency contact, full name, relationship contact, and for the GP as well. Okay, so obviously right now this looks very messy, so I'm just going to tidy it up. Now you do need to make sure that your boxes are wide enough, which these probably are a little bit too thin, but that's okay. So I'm just moving it with my mouse where I want it, and then just using the little squares here to drag it bigger and smaller. Okay. Now this red dot means that this box is required. So it means that the client has to fill in this information. So for all of this information, I do want it to be required, but for medical conditions, I'm just gonna turn it off. So you just click on the box, a new box will open, and then we can just untick it. So for medical conditions and presenting issues, you can turn those off if you wish. Date of birth, I'm going to use the date box. So I'm just going to put that there. And that doesn't really need to be any bigger than that. Okay, I'm just going to keep tidying up these boxes. Now, they don't have to give me a release of information to speak to the GP, but I do need to know the GP's details. So I'm going to keep this as required as well. Now, some GPs don't have a contact email address, or the client might not know that. So as long as I've got a phone number, that's okay. I'll turn off the required box for email address. Okay, so now we have created the first page. Then we want to go to the second page. So now we have a release of information. So if the client would like to give us a release of information document for somebody in their care, they can do so. So I'm going to add these boxes here. Okay, so again, we just want to tidy it up. Now, this may seem very time consuming, but once you have done it once, you don't need to do it again for every single client. We're creating this template once, and then you can send it over and over again. So I'm going to turn off all the required because not everybody will have someone in their care, and not everybody will want to give us permission to talk to them. So I'm just going to turn that off. But I am going to keep the name and signature boxes required, so then I know that they've seen this page. Like that. Okay, third page. Here I just want an initial, so we can do a text box because I want them to give the initial that they understand about my data protection. And I also want an initial so that they confirm that they have read my cancellation policy. Now, even though I'm getting a signature at the end of this document, as you can see here, I do want to specifically get them to initial that they've read those two things because they are important. So once we have done all of the client boxes, we then want to click on the therapist, and we're going to change that to therapist boxes. So I'm just going to tidy this up as well. It also doesn't actually matter which order you put them in, like which one's 1 and which one's 2, because you can amend that when you want to send the document, but I just do it in the order that I want it to be sent. So you want to go through this document, you want to make sure everything is correct as you would like it, everything is as neat as possible, all the required boxes are required, anything that isn't required is turned off because that will be a problem if you, for example, had these required for the release of information and then the client didn't want to give us permission to speak to anybody. They're not going to be able to fill this in because they would have to complete the boxes. So you just want to make sure that all of that is correct. You want to make sure there's no blank things. You've done any check boxes that there are. We don't have any on this form, but if there were check boxes, you also want to do check boxes too. I'll just show you how they look actually. So let's say instead of a client initial, we wanted them to just tick a box. We can just add that there. Again, you can decide whether it's required or not. So you could have said, please check to confirm that you understand our data protection details, you know, something like that. So I'll just delete that. Okay, once you have completed your form, you can just press back and press back again, and now we have this template available. So now it comes that we want to send this template to a new client. So you want to go to new envelope. You want to give your envelope a title. So this is going to be the email subject. So I'm just going to put registration form. And then you want to select your template. So just click select template and then find the template that you want. If you hover over the template name, it will come up fully. So over here, I've got VI Associate, but there's like a lot of them. So if I just click over, I can see what these are. So this is 2022, this is 2023. Okay, so I'm just going to tick this one. You can tick multiple. So if you have your registration form, but you also have your therapy agreement, which is separate, and maybe you have a medical insurance form, you can tick multiple forms and then just click confirm selection. Just to show you what it looks like if you had more than one, let's just do the client contact form. You can also switch the order that people see this. So you can just grab these here and move them around like that. Okay, so if you wanted to decide that you wanted them to be sent in a particular order, maybe you had a welcome page, then the client contact details, then a release of information, then a health insurance form, something like that, you can do that. So I'm just gonna delete this one. So we've just got one registration form and click next. Now here is where you want to decide who you are sending it to and what they are. So for example, I'm just going to send this to Claire. Okay, and Claire is the client. Okay, then you can either add yourself as a party or you can type in a different name. So I'll just use my own name here, and I am going to be the therapist. If you turn off sign in order of parties, basically what's going to happen is you will both get them at the same time, and then you can both sign them in whatever time frame you do it. So what we want though is we want the client to complete the form. We want to read their form before we sign it, because if there's any problems with it, we're obviously not going to sign the form. So that's how we want to do it. But there may be other envelopes and templates that you want to send that anybody can sign at any time. So that is what the sign in order of parties means, but we want to do that. So we want party one to get it first, and once they have signed it, then it comes to us. Now here you can add on passwords if required, but you obviously for this particular one wouldn't need a password. But for example, if you were sending a client update to a doctor or something, you could add a password. And you can also add a personal message. So if this is the first time you're sending this type of envelope, you can start creating your message and then you can save it as a template. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Or if you have already done that, you can just use the drop down and you can select the template you've already created. So let's create a new message. So I'm going to put hello client, and then that will change for each individual person. Okay, so I've typed my message up. I'm going to save it as a new template. So I'm going to call it registration form and save as a new message template. Okay, now going forward, I will be able to use this, but for this one, I've already typed it up. So let's just say hello, Claire. Okay, and then everything else has been completed. It will tell you if you need to do more stuff. So if I hadn't done this, it will say one role needs assigning. So I need to tick that I am the therapist. And then you go to next. Here you can review if you want to make any changes to the document. So if, for example, for this particular client, you didn't need their GP details, you could turn off that this is required. So you can make changes to the template straight away. If you are happy with the template, click summary and send. And then here is where you can add on a few more details. So we've got the envelope name, we've got what documents are going to be sent, we've got the party and the message, so you can view that. You can also edit that. Click on personal message and then you can make any changes there. Just go back to next. It's going to keep going through the same thing. It also confirms that the sign-in sequence is one at a time rather than us both being able to sign in at any time. And here as well, where you might want to set an auto reminder or an expiry date. Now, I wouldn't select an expiry date because you are still going to pay for the envelope even if it hasn't been sent to the client. So I wouldn't do that. But what you can do is set up auto reminders. So if you click on edit, you can decide when you want to send reminders to the client. So every 2 days, every 3 days, depending on how quickly you need this completed. But I would say 2 or 3 days is fine, and click update. And then you just want to send the envelope. Once you have sent the envelope, that is going to go to the client. The client is going to be able to read and complete the document, and then you will get an email notifying you that it has been completed, and it will also send you another email to say that you then need to complete something. If, for example, this form didn't need your signature as well, it would just send it to you to say this has been completed, and then you'll have a copy of it in your inbox. So you'll be able to save that to your client file or wherever it is that you want to keep paperwork. Once you have completed your portion of the paperwork, the client will then get a final copy of the form for themselves. So they won't get a copy once they have signed it, but once the whole envelope, once the whole template is completed, they will also get a copy. So they will have the completed template as well. So they'll be able to review the registration form. You can refer back to it if, for example, they want to cancel with late notice. You can remind them that it was in the registration form and they would have a copy of it. So I really hope you found that tutorial of Signable useful. I really love Signable and I still use it myself in my own business when I'm sending contracts out to people, when I'm doing associate agreements, and also with my licensing business as well. Even though I use Google Workspace in my business every single day, I still do like to use Signable as an extra add-on. I love that there's a pay-as-you-go option, so if I don't use it for 6 months, there's nothing to pay, but then as soon as I need it, it's really simple to use. If you have any questions about Signable, please leave a comment below. I would love to answer them for you. I am an affiliate for them, but they don't have an affiliate program for the pay-as-you-go option, and that is 100% what I recommend that you sign up for. So I'll leave a link for that below, but there's no commission for me anyway, because unless you sign up to a monthly paid plan, I don't get commission, and that's totally fine because that is not what I recommend, and I never want to recommend something to anybody that is not genuine. So definitely just sign up for the pay-as-you-go option. They also have a 14-day free trial, so you can use the platform for 14 days for free and send up to 40 envelopes within that time frame for free. So for example, if you have a new paperwork pack and you want to send it out to all your clients, this is a great time to do that because you'll basically be able to do it for free. If you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out and helps the algorithm and helps me reach more therapists in private practice so that I can help them with their private practice admin and their system overwhelm and things like that. But for now, thanks so much for watching.